Community Pay It Forward isn't just another rewards program. It's a movement built on compassion and connection. We link everyday businesses, nonprofits, and neighbors so simple actions like buying lunch, getting your car fixed, or hiring a service can create lasting impact. When you choose one of our giving partners, part of your purchase goes directly to families, veterans, children, or community missions in need. It doesn't cost you a dime more. It just means your purchases matter. Because here, every transaction tells a story. And our belief is simple: if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Because at Community Pay It Forward, no.
Hey there, friends. I've been thinking we all have our strengths, right? I can do this, but I'm not so great at that. I'm pretty good at talking to people, but I'm not so great at adding things into a website or app. Oops. I love speaking, sharing stories, but social media, all those hashtags and algorithms, yeah, that's a jungle I haven't quite figured out yet. Coming up with ideas that bring folks together, I'm all about it. Bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I don't exactly get along, but that's okay because someone out there is good at those things, and when we work together, magic happens. See, Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us great on our own. But imagine how much stronger we are when we bring all those talents together. That's what Community Pay It Forward is all about. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working together to make a difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's find out together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
Hi, my name is Lynn Sobolski, and I'm a giving partner on the Community Pay It Forward program. You may recognize me from Lynn's Day, which is a monthly feature on the third Wednesday where I read live tarot for whoever wants to join us. And so I thought I would take a minute and talk about tarot readings in the context of mental health, because as it turns out, there is a conversation to be had there. So briefly, what the science shows us is that for people who suffer from depression, PTSD, and other mental health issues, their brains undergo physiological changes. There are areas that become less connected, there are areas that shrink, there are areas that become overactive. What science also shows us is that spirituality acts as a protective mechanism for these same structures in the brain. What am I saying? I'm saying that for people who consider themselves spiritual, religious, who have some sort of belief system that is spiritual or religious or mystical, for those people, their brains show the opposite. Their structures are growing and expanding instead of shrinking. Their connections are increased. Their activity is normal versus overactive. And so in the context of tarot readings, if someone is receiving a reading and they're having an experience that is powerful and profound and speaks to their spiritual or religious beliefs, that shift in perspective that they experience during that reading, those moments of wonder and awe specifically target the areas of the brain that are damaged from stress and trauma. And so by creating a dramatic shift in the way someone perceives themselves or their world or their situation, something like a tarot reading actually can set someone up for future improved mental health outcomes. So is there a woo-woo element to tarot? Absolutely. But there is also a scientific element that says a tarot reading can be good for you. Thanks for listening.
to a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear. Bring me home, out alone.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Community Impact for the first. Well, let me try this again. For the 28th of January, 2026. I cannot believe that January is already over. I think that that's a precursor to what's going to happen for the rest of the year. Um, it, let's, some of us are really hoping for a pretty quick year. Um, you know, but then again, I don't want to be too damn quick. So as you get older, the last thing in the world you want is for the time you have left to go by too fast. I mean, let's be honest here. So, but I do want to welcome you all to Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channel. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the founder and president of all of these things. I also want to welcome you to another show where we're going to be talking about Mission for Healthy Heroes. Once again, this is brought to you by Community Pay It Forward. And today we're spending the next couple minutes, I don't know, a little over an hour, hopefully, doing something our world desperately, desperately needs. And we're going to slow down, look around, and recognize the people who hold our communities together. I've made these promises to myself, and I'm going to do my very best to try to keep these promises to you. I never, and of course you can tell by my viewership, I don't get into politics a whole hell of a lot. I don't do it because I think it's unnecessary. Okay? Your political views are your political views. I think in total big picture, I think that we're all smart enough to realize when stuff is going really wrong, stuff is going wrong. Okay? We have a tendency to say to ourselves that it's the worst thing in the world on one side, and you know what? This isn't all that bad on the other side, which is it's fine to the point where you're allowed to think what you want. But we do need to remember things can always be better, things can always be worse. Saying that, our hearts bleed for the families that lost their loved ones this last month in Minnesota. My heart is so heavy for those families. Okay? And again, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to. I'm never going to ask you to have the same views that I have on politics. You know what? Maybe you have a reason to be on the other side of me. And that's great. Whatever. You know what? One of the greatest things that we have in this country is we have the right to vote for who we want to vote for. as painful as that is sometimes for other people, we have that right. Okay? I have never been one that is voted one side down ballot. I've never been that person. The situation that we're in right now has always been something that I have tried to do my part to avoid, to where one person, one party has all the power down, straight down. I have always done my part to try to avoid this. And that is quite simply because of this. I don't give a damn if you're Republican. I don't give a damn if you're Democrat. Neither side has everything completely right. We could create the new fluffy party, if you will. And we wouldn't have it all right. There is no such thing as having a party that can have everything right, okay? Because where in my life I am pro life, I'm pro choice in your life, okay? I don't have any right to tell you that you have to keep your baby. That's not my right. God never gave me the right to run your life. He never did. She never did. Never gave me that right to tell you how to run your life. Ever. I joke around with people and I tell them, we talk about how I should run for office someday and I would be the most miserable person in the world. Because I honestly could not sit in a room and try to find a way to negotiate with people who are trying to put funding in to pass a bill to help out families in need. Okay, we'll help out families in need, but you got to give my big oil company extra money. Okay, we'll help out veterans, but you have to find a way to put in extra money into our solar programs. No, we'll help families in need. To hell with your other money making thing. I'll agree with people. I'll agree with both sides that both sides are absolutely corrupt. Look, the winner of every the winner of every election ever has been the one who can lie the best. That's it. They're the ones who have manipulated enough people to believe their lies the best. So I guess if you want to grow your kids up to be politicians, maybe the thing that you need to do is make sure that they know how to lie. I don't know. I guess I could see that as the way to go, right? We try to keep our kids not lying all this time, but if we want them to be in government, if we want them to grow up and be a politician, we got to teach them how to lie better. So, but anyway, this show today, I am going to do my best to do it without preaching. Other than the ranting I've already done, with very little politics, but heavy on education, truth, and real stories of heroes doing real good. Teachers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, police, and the countless service heroes who show up every day, often without thanks, without applause, and without the spotlight. Mission for Healthy Heroes exists for one reason, and that's to be there for those who put their lives on the line for us every day. Community Pay It Forward exists to make sure no hero and no hero's family ever stands alone. And I'm going to make a statement right here that I hold true. I want you to think of the 5 most important people in your life right now. You got them? If you want, put it in the chat. Who's your 5 most important people in your life? Are you important to them? Well, my friend, you know what? That makes you a hero too. So you're included in this list of people who we're trying to help at Community Pay It Forward. So let's get into it. Let's celebrate the good. Let's learn from it. And let's remind ourselves that behind every uniform is a human being with a story worth telling. Again, these are stories that I was able to find just by scouring the internet. So, firefighters are the definition of running toward danger when everyone else runs away. And sometimes their heroism happens before the world even wakes up. A firefighter in Michigan gave his life-saving his crew during a house fire. On the morning he was supposed to leave, gave up his life saving a family during a fire. I'm sorry, I really read that wrong. I actually really typed that in wrong. I just looked at that and I don't know. Have you ever looked at something that you typed and why do I have a chicken chasing a pickle? By the way, I want to see that someday. I know you guys hear me say that all the time. I really someday want to see a chicken chasing a pickle. Road trip. Maybe a petting farm this year. Petting zoo. We got one coming up at the Stampede, and I've got the grandkids hopefully coming to see us. By the way, I am about 9 days from seeing Papa's little girls coming home. So extremely excited about getting my little girls to come here and spend a little time with my little angels. So he was supposed to leave for a family Disney vacation. In other words, the guy had mental problems to begin with because standing in a line in Disney does not sound fun to me. I'm joking. His last act wasn't dramatic, wasn't for the cameras. It was instinct, training, brotherhood. It was love expressed through sacrifice. You know, where every time we lose a hero, maybe they don't have a Disney vacation planned with their family. Maybe it could be something that they planned on reading a book to their children that night. They planned on going fishing with their father that weekend. Maybe it's as simple as they were just sitting there and talking to their buddies, going, "Oh God, the wife's got me cleaning out the gutters this weekend." There was always something else they could have done rather than put their life on the line. And every time that we lose a hero, whether it's we lose them at work or we lose them because the demons get them, that's time without their family. That that family's never going to get back. So please remember that. Also found a story about firefighters who rescued a dog stranded on a river island in Longs, South Carolina. First responder coordinates to rescue a dog who had been trapped on a river island. A mission that required boats, teamwork, and patience. Not a human life, but this time. But let's be honest, passion doesn't discriminate. I know for a fact if one of my dogs were in a situation and it came to it and somebody was there and somebody took the time to um, rescue one of my dogs, they'd become one of my favorite people. I I love my dogs. My dogs are my, you know, they're my family. They drive me absolutely batty sometimes. But then again, so does my family. So does my human family. So these are just two stories about people who are doing good and two stories about people that we want to do something good for them on Mission for Healthy Heroes.
For 22 hours, we show up, not for fame, not for applause, but for the ones who wake up every day and put everyone else first.
This is our 4th year. 22 continuous hours of real conversations, real stories, real hope. Voices that refuse to be silent. Hearts that refuse to quit.
Some are exhausted, some are hurting, some are carrying the weight of the world quietly, while still showing up for others. This podcast is for them.
On Sunday, February 22nd, starting at 4 a.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Pacific, we go live for 22 straight hours to raise funds, raise awareness, and remind people they are not alone. If you've ever felt unseen, if you've ever given more than you had, if you believe compassion still matters.
This is your moment to stand with us. Listen, share, support. Because when we come together, hope gets louder, strength multiplies. Real heroes don't wear capes. They just keep showing up, tired, unseen, and still giving.
Join us live. Sunday, February 22nd, 4 a.m. East, 1 a.m. Pacific. Show up for those who never stop showing up for others.
Because no one needs to go it alone. When we all
come together.
Across the country, firefighters saved victims from burning homes, pulled people from wrecked vehicles, and respond to disasters with quiet consistency. These aren't headlines, these are reminders. Firefighters don't just fight fires, they fight fear, chaos, and they lose time with ones they love to make sure our world is a better place. You know, just it's just a the tip of the ice on what they have to do. That their job is so dangerous no matter what they do. Even in a I said this before, every time the EMTs have ever come to one of our homes or something, the firefighters are always there because their truck is big enough to carry the defibrillator, to carry all the other equipment that they need. you know, that way the EMTs don't have to carry it on their bus. They can concentrate on getting people to the hospital where they need to be treated. So, it is so important. And again, in all that chaos, their life gets lost every once in a while. We need to make sure that we can be there doing whatever we can to help them find solutions to their problems, help them spend that time with their family, help that firefighter make the trip to Disney with his kids. And we can all make this happen by a couple reasons, helping them through difficult times. One of the things that we can do is we can stop doing some of the fun but stupid stuff we do. We were talking on Monday's Footprints Forward show. We talked, and by the way, Footprints Forward is going to we're going to replay that at the end of this show. It's going to come on after this show because we do talk about the cold weather that's going on right now, and it's just going to give some ideas on how you can help other people during the cold weather. But we were talking about how people will do desperate things in desperate times, and that is the truth. Okay, these are desperate things. When you get cold, you are miserable, and will do things that don't make the most sense. And we kind of forget that there is a very dangerous outcome with our action. So please watch that show at the top of the hour and let's see if we can, make lives in this winter a little bit easier on our firefighters. When it comes to police, to our law enforcement officers, our police officers, quite often the good gets buried under the noise. But the good is real and it's powerful. Like an officer saving 5 lives, including a missing toddler. A Michigan officer has saved 5 lives in separate incidents. Including finding missing toddler in the woods. It wasn't. Now, I will guarantee you this officer didn't ask for people to take and grab their cell phones and follow him into the woods to find this baby. Didn't call a news crew. This officer was just doing his or her job. Look, and honestly, that's not luck. That's vigilance. That's people that's well trained, doing a great job, in a lot of times difficult situations. Would it be nice to have to be in a world where we don't need police officers? Oh, you bet you it would. But that's not the way it is. You know, that's just not the way it is. You know, um, see, criminals don't do what they do because they don't make money doing it. Criminals feed off victims. Criminals feed off addictions. Criminals feed off greed. And there's times that they make a living that they couldn't make at a 9 to 5 job. I'm very happy I never made that choice to where that was, that important to me. I made a poor decision when I was younger, but I couldn't imagine continuing to do that, live that lifestyle. I think one of the things that we could do to make it easier for police to do their jobs is we could take and show how much we actually support them. Look, are there bad cops out there? Oh, yes, there are. There are some terrible cops out there. And those cops, in my mind, they deserve to be in jail. If you are a criminal, if you perform criminal acts, you need to go to jail. Not every time you get stopped or you getting stopped by a bad criminal or by a bad cop. And, you know, these officers need to also understand that every time they make a traffic stop, that person's not a criminal. That's where I got confused there. It They got a difficult job. They really do. You know, I mean, think about it. If every time in which we kind of do live in a world like this, every time that we go to a grocery store, we got to watch around us, make sure that, there's not going to be some crazy, or confused or just, you know, evil person in the next aisle that's going to do something that's going to affect our lives forever. Our police officers have to go through that feeling every day on everything they do, but they do it because that's what they've chosen to do. They do it because they would like to see a world where they don't need police officers. Again, there are very bad cops and law enforcement officers. There are terrible ones. There are also very, very good ones, like a police officer who delivered a Happy Meal to a hungry child, a 5-year old that wanted a Happy Meal. I know of a cop that went, picked up groceries for a family out of his own pocket because he saw a struggling mom. I know the officer. And they do this not because it's their job, it's because of the kindness. It's you know. Hey, by the way, I just want to say this: very little chance this guy is going to be here. But the other day, when I was at Jerry's, I went to go pick up something for our dinner, and I took in the wrong card. And I want to say thank you to the individual who was standing behind me, because he ended up picking up our bill for $17. I want to thank you publicly for that. You did not uh, absolutely did not have to do that. I was like 2 minutes away from my house, but I appreciate that you stuck up, stood out, and did that for me. I want to thank you publicly for being a wonderful neighbor. Thank you, sir, and thank your family. What a wonderful gesture, and thank you so very much. But yeah, it was it was so nice to that you did that. I was just astonished. But again, I've seen cops do this all the time. I've seen cops in it pisses me off that you can see a cop in a gas station. You offer to buy him a cup of coffee, they can't do it. Yet if you're running a little short, if a kid's running short on trying to get a hot dog, the cop will pick up the price of the hot dog. Makes no freaking sense to me why we can't support our officers, but is what it is. Because they might let us get away with the DUI if we buy them a cup of coffee, which is bullshit stuff. Officers buy car seats instead of issuing a ticket. In Milwaukee, officers encountered a mother with children riding without proper car seats. Instead of ticketing her, they bought seats themselves. They questioned the mother. They asked her, and they really informed her the danger that her children were in. And she explained to him that she just simply did not have the money for car seats. And this officer and his partner went out and bought the two car seats, and those kids now have a car seat. They're now safe and secure in the car. That's one of those stories that, you could see the validity in the mom getting a ticket there. Absolutely. But life is life, and you can't stop life because money becomes a problem at times. I know how much Justice hated the booster seat rule here in Colorado, and I felt bad that I had to put my son in a booster seat when I thought he was just way too big for it. Yet it's a law. And it scared the hell out of me. If I would borrow somebody else's vehicle and they didn't have a booster seat, I was scared to death that we were going to get stopped. I would have accepted the penalty, and I would have jogged on. If you don't do things right, there are consequences. I also found a story about an officer saving a driver from a burning car in Cortland, Ohio. Officers John Masora and Chuck Lowry pulled a driver from a burning vehicle, earning a life saving award, which is great. They got the honor of that. But again, they didn't do it because of the award. They did it because they're most officers are out there to make a positive difference in their communities. They go through this training so they can save a toddler that's choking on a cracker. They do this so they can negotiate somebody who's standing on a building wanting to take their life, or sitting in a closet crying because they just don't care anymore. They don't feel like they're being cared for anymore. They just don't have anything else. They're able to turn welfare checks into saving lives. You know, they're trained. And when they're trained properly, great things happen. These aren't small acts, these are moments that define a community. And they remind us that, look, policing at its best is humanity in uniform. I feel so sorry for our teachers. They don't just teach, they babysit, they stabilize, they encourage and protect when we allow them to. Like a teacher and a nurse, they save a student whose heart had stopped. A school resource officer and a nurse saved a student after his heart had stopped. Immediate CPR teamwork and training took over and saved a young child, who was about ready to die. Teachers and school staff are often the first responders of childhood abuse. They notice that a quiet kid, that a child's not able to say anything, or a child is having trouble sitting down, or a child is holding a body part in a different way. Could you imagine having to walk up to a kid and being the one who initiates that conversation? You're going to be talking to a child who has to, for their own good, take and talk about something that's going on at home that they're just not comfortable with, that they've been warned against. We ask our teachers to do this all the time, yet we don't respect them enough to let them teach our kids the, history. We get mad when they don't teach our kids math the way that our kids can understand it, yet we don't take the time to realize that, what, maybe it's just our kid who's not listening to the way that they need to listen. I want you to think back to what we've talked about with Les Simpson and some of the things that we've learned there. We don't we put teachers in a very difficult situation because teachers are put in a very difficult situation. They're taught how to teach us, and the way that they are teaching us is not the way that we learn. It's hard for us to teach and learn things short term. Partly because we're not interested in them. Yeah, as you get older, you realize, damn, I wish I would have listened to some of that stuff. Hell, I remember going back in my social studies classes and my geography classes, all this stuff, and when we were talking about some of the stuff that I absolutely love now. And I sit there and I kick myself in the gut because I wish I would have taken it more serious. But that's not on the teachers. That's on a little pain in the ass who thought he knew more than they did. Like, these teachers are out there trying to inspire kids who don't yet believe in themselves. or don't have anybody else to believe in them. This one is a little bit more difficult for me because I have had so many problems in this area personally. Where I know that there's going to be a lot of people giving me fight back on on officers, on police officers, because, well, cops shouldn't be doing what they do. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you're full of it, but I've had a lot, and especially since my accident, I've had a lot of bad experiences with nurses and doctors. I've also had some wonderful experience with nurses and doctors. But you know what? Nurses and doctors have um, emotional weight that none of us are ever going to see. See, they're no longer in a situation where they get to dictate how many patients they see in a day or how they treat patients or what they do. They have to deal with boards, and boards have to deal with nonprofit rules and all this other stupid stuff that goes on that has made healthcare less important, and insurance is the it is the linchpin that puts it all together. A doctor can no longer take more than 10 minutes in a room with a patient because they have to see so many patients in one day. I had to make I called to make a doctor's appointment because of my problematic neck yesterday. I can't get in to go and see him, and I'm in tremendous amounts of pain, and I can't get in to see a doctor until April 16th. And I've been complaining about this neck injury for over a year. It's aggravating. But I try not to get on the doctors too much because I do understand the insurance aspect of it. And I do understand that, you know what? Most doctors aren't like the doctors we see on the soap operas and stuff like that. The ones that are, multi-million dollar doctors in their own private firms and all this stuff, because of insurance rules, it's not a lucrative occupation anymore. You can't go into private practice because you're going to get kicked in the skull if you do. My buddy Jeremy, I've heard him tell the story on how he was supposed to be getting a surgery, and his surgery got canceled because this doctor could no longer made the decision that, you know what? I can no longer depend on insurance companies to do what they're doing. And so Jeremy, who needs a reconstructive surgery, could not get that surgery because he couldn't depend on because the doctor couldn't depend on the insurance companies. So see, this is one of the things that I really have a problem dealing with, because I get pissed off because a doctor doesn't listen to you, but the doctor can't listen to you because they don't have the time, because the insurance company tells them when they got to be, where they got to be, what they've got to do, what they cannot do, how they can treat you, even though the insurance company doesn't know anything about you. But insurance companies are not billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies because they enjoy giving money away. So where it's hard sometimes not to take this out on our heroes, there's times we need to not take this out on our heroes. They don't do this stuff. They sit there with frustrations themselves. They have to deal with people under intense pressure. They have to deal with people in emergency rooms that come in, and emergency rooms are just, they're shit shows to begin with. Nurses and doctors don't just treat injuries, they treat fear, they treat uncertainty. They treat families. You know, we also have our heroes that are out there right now in this cold weather. Our son the other day was out in Oklahoma for damn near 48 hours in this cold weather because there was a piece of machinery that froze up, and it could have cost the life of other people. He was out there in Oklahoma where they're having a terrible, terrible snow ice problem right now, and he was out there for almost 48 straight hours without being able to come home. When he got a little bit of a break, he had to take and turn the heat on in the vehicle on high, take his clothes off and put it on the dash to try to dry out some of his clothes. As a truck driver, I remember, getting out, working in the cold, working in the wet weather, having to put my gloves up on the up on the dashboard and hitting the defrost as my window's fogging up because I had my gloves to defrost and dry out, you know. So it made things even more dangerous, but you can't put on the wet gloves without possibly getting frostbite or some other problem. Dispatchers are under terrible, terrible pressure in situations, and we tend to treat them like crap. Social workers, counselors. There are just so many people out there who do different things, and we are stepping up on the 22nd of this month so we can thank them. That's what the mission for Healthy Heroes is all about. We need you to come on and we need you to tell your story. Scan the QR code, join us on the 22nd. Tell a story about a hero that did something for you, did something for your family. Do you run a program that helps our heroes in any way? Anybody that we just mentioned? Scan the QR code. Come on, tell us about it. If you want to win some wonderful prizes, scan the QR code. Buy a couple tickets. Help us build the Come Together Compass. By the way, the Come Together Compass page, if you go to the bottom of communitypayitforward.us, you're going to start seeing Come Together Resource and Come Together Compass down on the bottom. You can start scanning that. You can press on that and it'll take you to the page. You're going to start seeing that become more getting built as we go. I need you to start telling people that you know in your neighborhood who are there for others when they need it in times of need. Food banks. I need, people who are there for other people. People who don't charge individuals to help them find a job. Let's get them on here. Let's get this page to be what it can be, which is the most important page in the world. Community Pay It Forward. Look, when you shop with our partners, they donate to heroes or families you choose or other nonprofits who are out there every day trying to make lives better for you or others around you. Because when people are affected around you, your life is worse. This is not a one person world. Everyone around you. Remember those 5 people. Every single one of them. If one of them has a problem, you have a problem. Look, no hero, no person should ever stand alone. Not in a crisis, not in recovery, not in life. Our program supports veterans, first responders, teachers, families in crises, anyone who needs a hand up. I cannot believe I put that on there. I hate that term. It's a hand up, not a handout. I just don't like that term. Community Pay It Forward is there for long-term support, so please consider joining the Community Pay It Forward family today. Get with me and you can find out how that works, what we need to do to get you to become part of the family. You can get a hold of me by reaching out to me via email or or you can also give me a text. All right. Again, giving me a text is better because I can get into a quieter place and I can hear what you're trying to tell me. Because if we just get into a telephone call and I'm in a place where there's a lot of background noise, I can't hear you. So please try to text me first so I can get into a better place. I can give you the time that you need, that you deserve. So text me at 970-909-0751. Once again, text me at 970-909-0751. Like that person didn't text me and I couldn't take the phone call right now. Why? Because they didn't text me first and I could not tell them that, hi, I'm doing something right now. It also said scam call, so I wouldn't answer it anyway. Look, until February 15th, if you join the Giving family, you will receive a second year to your contract. And no change, no fee change. That second year is going to be included in the first year's contract. And you will receive up to a 15% discount on some of the bigger packages. So let's really take and let's try to get people to join the Community Pay It Forward program and start helping other people in every way possible. Please love somebody out there, everyone, because somebody out here loves you. Remember, no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. When we come together, we can help everyone. And if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. It's a funny life in that way. But it's a very true statement. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Monday again on Footprints Forward as we continue to talk Footprints Forward as we continue to talk about Mission for Healthy Heroes. My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PACT channels. I love you all so very much. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend. And by God, people, please take care of each other. We're all we've got. Let's bring down the rhetoric. Let's bring down the hate. Let's remember, we're all in this together and we're all we got.
In energy work, energy psychology, you're helping a person understand. We can get a little closer to what that pain is without being overwhelmed, without being frightened, and we can sort of look at it and take care of it. Because the whole thing about PTSD and other avoidance or difficulty in handling a memory is that we're trying to not see it. We're trying to just say, stay over there, stay back there, stay under the surface. And that in itself causes a lot of problems because nature wants to heal. There's healing inherent in nature. So
Say, bring me home, out alone, to show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here, 'cause it's not quite clear to be a part of Sunset Boulevard.